Yo, what's going on, y'all? This is Marcus Rosa, aka Mazuma TV, back at y'all with some more boxing talk, man. I hope everybody's having a blessed, beautiful, positive, productive night. I hope you had a great weekend overall, man. I'm back at y'all with some more boxing talk. About to get into my post-fight reaction for Andy Cruz destroying Montoya in 3 rounds and announcing his upcoming debut at 130 pounds. We're going to be speaking about Diego Pacheco stopping Emmanuel Aleem in 11 rounds and what could possibly be next for Diego Pacheco moving forward. But before we get into all of that, if y'all could please hit the like button on the way in, that'd be very much appreciated. We on the road to 4K. We well into the 3,600 mark, looking to crack that 3,700 mark in due time. Shout out to the nation and the mob for making this possible. Shout out to everybody that's in the building thus far. Shout out to my boy Slime in the building. What up? Jay, what up? Marissa Alvarez, what up? Ghost 787. Z, what up? Junior Frank. Justin Jackson was actually at the fight. Salute to the brother, man. One of the Day One Nation guys right there. You know what I'm saying? Jay, what up? What's going on? What's going on? I'm going to let a few more of y'all get up in here. Yo, Tricks, what up? Shout out to the brother Tricks, always in the building. Good fights, man. Good fights. Shout out to that boy Chop Chop, man. Did his motherfucking thing. Beautiful finish. Calling out all of the champs. You feel what I mean? I could definitely get with that. I like the kid's ambition. I love the kid's performance as well. Robert Garcia got a stable full of animals, man. Jesus Christ. Shout out to Robert Garcia. Got one of the best stables in boxing, hands down. From Bam to Chop Chop to fucking Virgil, and I'm sure there's a few that I'm forgetting right now, but this dude has a hell of a stable, and that's just the kids that we know of. He probably got some little monsters locked up in that motherfucking basement in that boxing gym that we don't even know yet that we'll be getting to know soon. But regardless, my boy Trick said, how good is Chop Chop Mazuma? I know he trains with Robert. I've always heard great things about Chop Chop. Like, I've seen there was a fight that he had not too long ago where it was definitely like a learning experience for him. He didn't really perform to the standard that a lot of people expected out of him. But this fight tonight, man, he did his thing. I don't think people really expected him to get the stoppage as early as he did. But, man, that was a hell of a body shot that he snuck right inside the forearms. Right inside the arms, man. Looked like a solar plex shot. And when you get hit with one of those shots, man, especially when you don't see them, that could completely take all of the gas out of your tank. It don't take much. It just takes the right placement. And if you're not braced, if you're exhaling, if you're in the middle of throwing a punch, if you don't expect the shot to reach his mark, regardless of how well conditioned you are, what grade of shape you're in, that's not a good shot to get hit with, man. That could completely take you out of the game. And that's what I noticed with Chop Chop's body shot. That was a vicious one. Snuck that in there, and I could tell by how the way the dude was reacting. I mean, it wasn't like a Ryan Garcia knee off of the body where he just waited till 10 and then got up. No, this was like in an excruciating amount of pain that he probably didn't even hear the count. His body was not cooperating with him, even if he wanted to get up. So, great performance overall from Chop Chop, and obviously they think of him very highly, Robert Garcia, them, if they feel like he is ready for a world title opportunity right now. Who he called out? Bruce Carrington. I heard him, Angelo Leo. He called out some names. So he said that he's not satisfied with this performance. He's not satisfied actually with his opponent's selection, to be honest with you, and said that he's not in this for the money. He's not in this, to beat these type of guys. He's in it to be a world champion. So I love the hunger. I love the speech that he had after the fight, and hopefully he gets an opportunity. I mean, he's with Top Rank, so I don't see why they wouldn't find a way to get him an opportunity, or at least draw up some plays to, get him in position to fight for a world title. But the only people that knows whether he's ready or not is himself and his team. I mean, I could speculate all day as to whether he's a championship level fighter or not, but until he gets in there and actually performs against a championship level fighter, there's no way for us to really know. But I love the fact that he's a young, hungry lion willing to prove himself against any and everybody. I feel like that's a mentality that all fighters should have nowadays. Instead of saying, oh, let me talk to my team and see what we come up with. You know what I mean? Like those scary ass type of answers. I'm not really with all of that, but regardless, good performance, man. Good performance. Espinoza and Shushu, since they're all on top rank. Yeah, I mean, he's calling out somebody in Espinoza that a lot of people don't even want to fight. You know what I mean? And talk is cheap at the end of the day, but the fact that he even took that approach, it just lets me know what type of time he on. So uh salute the Chop Chop, man. He's a kid who's for the legacy. Well, that's the type of fighters that we should be supporting. Those are the type of fighters that we should be putting our money behind, not the guys who say fuck the fans and go against the fans' wishes and act like the fans don't hold no weight and all of this stuff, man. We gotta invest into the fighters that actually want to give us what we want to see. I mean, like we're not gonna support a restaurant if they're serving us food that we didn't order. We're not supporting a local business that's not giving us the services that we need or giving us subpar services. You know what I mean? That's like going into a fucking Applebee's and it's like, oh, yo, let me get your boneless wings or whatever the case is, and they be like, nah, we just gonna give you salmon instead. It's like, all right, no, we're not gonna give you boneless wings, but we gonna give you whatever the fuck. We're gonna give you steak. That's not what I asked for. And I think we should have a similar mentality with these fighters. If we're calling for them to fight certain guys, these fighters, in all honesty, since they're making money off of us, we're the reason why these guys are able to take home 7, 8, 9 figure paychecks. Y'all should be, you know, looking to make the fights that we want to see. And if not, then we'll withdraw our money from your events, and you'll feel the effects of going against the fans. It's really that simple. But regardless, what do I think about Chop Chop versus Nick Ball? I mean, that's a good fight. That's a good fight. But we kind of seen Nick Ball's character as he was a champion. You know what I'm saying? We saw when Nick Ball got the title against Raymond Ford that pretty much held that title hostage, and I guess because he's an undersized guy at 126 pounds, that he was just trying to find guys that, would he wouldn't be as much of a disadvantage against. Like we seen the guys that he's fought, and he fought Brandon Figueroa, who had looked subpar in all honesty in previous performances again, especially the Steve Fulton rematch. Brandon Figueroa looked absolutely horrible. And I think Nick Ball saw that and was like, oh, that's a former world champion right there. Maybe I could, take advantage of, him, since he's, they perceived him to be over the hill. His matchmakers at least assumed that and thought that was going to be an easy outing. And, Brandon Figueroa was able to turn the clock back, or at least get his things together for him to perform at a high level, or at least high enough to defeat Nick Ball. So I said all of that to say, Nick Ball and Chop Chop is a good fight, but is Nick Ball going to be willing to come back to fight a Chop Chop? Is he going to be willing to give Chop Chop an opportunity when back when he was champion, he really wasn't trying to fight, guys who he considered to be risky? That's just how I take the whole situation. But let's get into this post-fight reaction, because that's what y'all here for. I mean, I want to get into the first one, the co-main event with Andy Cruz. Like I said, congratulations to Chop Chop. We can't really speak too much on what happened with that fight. Chop Chop displayed fast hands. He was aggressive, punching in combinations, and what was that? That was like a 2-round fight, I believe. I mean, I was a little caught up with the fam and shit like that, but I was able to catch the knockout. That shit was nasty. I think that was a 2-round fight, and can't really speak too much about that, but we can speak about Andy Cruz, just considering what he's announced after his fight and stuff like that. I heard the Rios versus Sanchez, the Rios versus Sanchez fight was pretty good. It was pretty good. Leo Tang fought this 270-pound dude. To be honest with you, I don't think Leo Tang is a heavyweight, man. I really don't. I don't know if it was because, and I would have to see him in person, obviously. But how the way he looks significantly smaller than that 270 dude, it kind of put me in this mind frame that a Tang might possibly be a cruiserweight. I don't know. I could possibly be wrong. Jay, you was there, so maybe a Tang is a heavyweight. He just was smaller than the guy he fought. But I couldn't help but notice how small he looked. And then it didn't really look like I don't know. He's 6'6". He's a heavyweight. Height has nothing to do with weight, brother. Height has nothing to do with weight. We got a 6'6", 154 in boxing right now. That's a world champion. Height doesn't necessarily mean that you are of a certain weight class. This is weight classes, not height classes. But I couldn't help but think, like, so he's either a smaller heavyweight. He's either a smaller heavyweight or he's a big cruiser. Like it's one of the two. But like I said, I'm not gonna just put my stamp on it because I haven't seen him in person. But just based off of how the way he looked against that bigger guy, I was just like, and obviously he got the power to tame, guys who are that big. He was visibly rocking them and hurting them and stuff like that. But I don't know, man. That could be a problem. That could be a problem when he steps up in competition and he fights these guys who are full-fledged heavyweights. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course, he's 19 years old, so it'll probably be a little while before he steps in with like elite level competition. That'll probably be another 4 to 5 years, to be honest with you. But looking at guys like Moses Atama, fuck is this dude named Egypt Cabiel and stuff like that. Like he may have issues with them guys just based off of size alone. And it kind of takes me back to like Jared Anderson. Like, not saying that they fight alike whatsoever. But you look at Jared Anderson, I met Jared Anderson in person. I'm like, oh, this guy's not as big as I thought. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm looking at Jared Anderson. I said, bro, he looks like a cruiserweight. Then when I started looking through his resume and stuff like that, I started to notice that a lot of the guys that he was fighting were cruiserweights that were going up to heavyweight. A lot of them. You can look through the box rec. I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them were cruiserweights or natural cruiserweights that went up to heavyweight to fight Jared. So I'm looking at that and I'm like, okay, just based off of this alone, Top Rank literally believes the same thing. And, Jared Anderson wasn't fighting elite level guys whatsoever, but then eventually he fought Martin Bakole. And Martin Bakole, there's no way that he can make a cruiserweight limit. He's just that big of a guy. And then we actually seen guys like Martin Bakole in the ring with Jared Anderson, and you're like, God damn, like this dude Bakole is big as fuck next to Jared Anderson. And the reason why was because Jared Anderson, to me, is not really a heavyweight, or at least a big one. So like I said, he's either a good size or big cruiserweight or a small heavyweight. And you're going to have small heavyweights. It is what it is. Like Jermaine Franklin, small heavyweight. Joey DeWaco, small heavyweight. You're gonna have those. Not everybody's gonna be big for their division. You feel me? I just seen I remember when Montel Griffin visited the gym. He fought and beat James Toney. He fought Roy Jones. Fought a few names. I'm looking at this dude like, bro, how are you fighting at what was that? 168, 175? Bro, he's smaller than me. But Montel Griffin was very skilled, crafty. You know what I'm saying? Not, good fighter. But, I said that to say a lot of these guys, are going to be not everybody's going to be big for the weight class or even be of average size in the weight class. It's going to be guys who, may have to overcome certain things just due to their size and shit like that, like Nick Ball. Yeah, Richard Torres. That's another small heavyweight. There's a kid named Mac Truck, Dakari Scott. I think he's from out Atlanta. He was training with Boozy for a little bit of shit like that. He was with Coach Mustafa in the past. I don't know what he's doing now, but very small heavyweight. You know what I'm saying? But, it is what it is. Yeah. Price Taylor. That's another one that's a small heavyweight. Good example, Jay. But anyways, man, I want to get into this conversation, man. We having a great conversation so far. Y'all go ahead and hit the like button. Shout out to the 31 people that's in the building, 32 people that's in the building. Thank you very much for tuning in. Andy Cruz absolutely destroys Montoya in 3 rounds, man. I never really got to watch Montoya fight, at least like in depth, like really sitting there studying them and stuff like that. But man, there was such a huge difference in just about everything. And I could sympathize with Montoya in a way because he did what he had 2 weeks notice to prepare for Andy Cruz. You know what I'm saying? He may have not been the best version of himself, but just speaking respectfully, I don't know if there was anything that he could have pulled out of his tool bag that would have gotten him ready or at least made the fight competitive with Andy Cruz. There was just nothing that I saw that he brought to the table that I'm like, damn, if he would have trained a little bit harder, he probably would have made it a little bit more difficult. nah, man, just stylistically, Andy Cruz was just all wrong for Montoya. Montoya was very slow. Punches were very slow. It's like, you know how you ever fight in your dream? You ever have a fight in your dream? Bro, I've lost every fight that I've had in my dream. And the reason why is because my punches are so damn slow. Like I'll be ready to punch somebody, and I'm like, you see what I'm saying? So that's what I envisioned with Montoya. And I don't know if it was just he was that slow or Andy was just that fast. But regardless, man, he just couldn't seem to catch up to Andy Cruz at all. And Andy Cruz seen a lot of the shots. He was taking his time. Um, but you could tell that we seen a little bit more of a we seen the changes that Andy Cruz had made in camp. And when you go back and you watch that Raymond Mortaya fight, Raymond Mortaya was significantly bigger than Andy Cruz, which may have influenced his decision to move down to 130. Uh you say he is that slow. I did see. You can't be slow. You can't have that type of slowness. You can't have that type of you know you can't have a speed deficiency and then being there with an Andy Cruz. You got to have some type of decent speed to be able to keep up with him. So that was a horrible quality to have off of the very beginning. But Andy Cruz, when he fought Raymond Mortaya, it seemed like he was, okay with being on the back foot. He was okay with being on the ropes. He was okay with, Mortaya being the aggressor and letting his hands go. And like I said, Raymond Mortaya being a significantly bigger guy than Andy Cruz may have very well influenced his decision to go down to 130 pounds. So in this fight right here with Montoya, and maybe it was because Montoya just wasn't on his level at all and he could just do whatever he wanted to do, we've seen him actually be okay with fighting on the inside, attempting to push Montoya back. Even had Montoya against the ropes in the short amount of time that the fight was going on, I actually see Montoya on the ropes, and Andy Cruz was punching with bad intentions. He was punching with bad intentions, and I knew it was a matter of time before he got Montoya's, attention. And at the end of, I believe, the second round, Montoya got cracked with a nasty right hand. It was a shot that Montoya did not see. It was actually while Montoya was in the middle of a combination, caught him, flush. He goes down, looks absolutely lost when he gets up, but he gets up. And I believe he makes it back to his corner. He definitely makes it back to his corner. And they allow him to come out for the third round. The referee was actually suspicious that Montoya may have had a broken jaw, from what I understand. But they allowed him to continue anyway. And that's when, Andy Cruz went ahead and got the job done. Was just too accurate, too sharp, too fast. And just overall, just a better fighter, man. Montoya was just completely out of his league. He got blown out of the water, and Andy Cruz did what he needed to do in order to secure the victory. Montoya looked like he was a bit upset because it did look like he was, defending the shots. But when you come off of a brutal knockdown like that and you don't respond well to getting up, and then, you getting hit with flush shots, you're putting the referee in a tough position where they have to make a choice to ensure your safety, because that's what they're in there for. At the end of the day, they're there to make sure that the fight is fair, you guys are following the rules, and that even though you're in a dangerous situation, they're there to save you from taking more damage than you should, I guess you would say. They're there to make sure that you don't take too much damage where it could possibly affect your life and your health. And sometimes they could fuck fighters over with that and stuff like that. But I thought that it was a appropriate stoppage. I don't think Montoya really was going to bring anything to the table that would have turned the fight around whatsoever, man. Andy Cruz was just in a different league, and him announcing that he's going down to 130 pounds, that's what I had been calling for a while now. You know what I'm saying? I was calling for that before he fought Raymond Mortaya. I was like, man, this dude is significantly smaller than a lot of the guys that he's fighting, and I think that he would actually be more suitable at 130 pounds. And I've seen Andy Cruz in person. Like I said, I had the privilege of having one of my guys, Derek Moore, spar, Andy Cruz. It was only for a round, you know what I mean, because Andy Cruz was bigger than my guy. But, even looking at him, I'm like, bro, he's not a lightweight. Andy Cruz looked real big up top, like big arms, big shoulders and shit like that. You could tell he had a little bit of weight on him, but for the most part, it wasn't nothing too crazy where it was like, oh yeah, like I can understand why he's a 135. No, not really. He's not a 135. I've seen real 135s. Like, you know, uh, I don't really deem Andy Cruz to be one of them. I think that 130 would be a great weight for Andy Cruz. I don't really see him growing anytime soon. He's just a smaller guy. I mean, he's not like a Keyshawn Davis who has the frame where he can move up multiple weight classes, or like a Devin Haney or even a Shakur Stevenson. I think Andy Cruz will end up, when his career is all said and done, you know, 2, 3 division move up max. And the third division, maybe a stretch. You know what I'm saying? So congratulations to Andy Cruz. I'm looking forward to seeing what he's gonna do at 130 pounds. There's definitely some champions down there that he could give a tough fight to or even possibly beat him. But there's also a lot of smoke at 130. So Andy Cruz got to make sure that he's on point. You got Shock down there. You got Emmanuel Navarrete down there. You have Kakat, what was his name? Kakase? What? Fuck is his name? You still got Sugar Nunez down there. You got a lot of guys down there. You feel what I'm saying? So, yeah, Vasyl Lomachenko. We don't know what weight class he's gonna come back at. Most likely 135. I don't see him. Him being older, I don't see him jumping back down to 30. But yeah, I would love to see Andy Cruz, Kakase. I'm fucking up his name. My apologies for that. But regardless, I think 130 is an action-packed division as well. May not have like the biggest icons, may not have the biggest draws, names, and stuff like that, but it's a pretty competitive division. And oh yeah, we got Raymond Ford as well. I mean, that'd be a good fight. You know what I'm saying? Both with Matchroom, good fight. Good fight. That might be something they might try to put together later down the line. But like I said, congratulations to Andy Cruz. Really enjoyed the fight for as long as it lasted. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he does at 130 pounds, man. Like I said, I had the pleasure of me and Andy Cruz. We didn't really speak or anything like that, but just got a genuine, he got a real fun vibe to him, man. Just seems real cool, real laid back. And everybody I know that interacted with Andy Cruz, they all say the same thing, that he's a good person. So I like to see good shit happen to good people. So salute to Andy Cruz, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you do at super featherweight, brother. Salute to Andy Cruz. Made a good showing of himself. Shout out to Bozy Ennis as well. I mean, I seen the OG in the building. I seen a lot of Philly in the building. I seen Danny Davis out there, who's a cut man for those of y'all who don't know. You know what I'm saying? I seen Bozy out there. I seen Bozy's I forgot the homie name, but I guess like he worked, he's one of his partners. I seen him in the building as well. I mean, shout out to Philly. Philly was out there in Cali for real. Andy makes music. I heard he does. I heard that he liked to dance and all that shit. Andy Cruz, he's a great personality, man. We in an era now where all these boxers want to be music artists anyway. So I don't know what's up with that, but I mean, that's a different conversation. So let's get into Diego Pacheco's fight against Emmanuel Aleem. Y'all go ahead and hit the like button. Let's get the algorithm on the up so that people know that Mazuma TV is live. Now, I seen what a lot of the people are saying, but I'm going to try to keep this as straight down the middle as possible. I got some positive critiques for Diego Pacheco. I also got some negative ones. I wrote down some notes, so I'm going to go ahead and read through this. You know what I'm saying? Because I was taking my notes on my laptop as the fight was going on. That's why I really wasn't interacting with the group chat all like that, because I didn't really want to forget any of these key details that I noticed as the fight was going on. And, when you really assess Diego Pacheco's performance overall, it was a pretty disciplined performance. He trained with Buddy McGurk. Buddy McGurk likes to keep things simple. He the OG, so they big on the fundamentals and, big on the jab and combinations off of the jab and, putting water in the basement, aka going to the body and shit like that. So I thought overall Diego Pacheco delivered there was a method to his madness. It was a disciplined performance, I'm gonna say. I thought when you look at the fight overall, I thought systematically he wore down Emmanuel Aleem before forcing the 11th round stoppage. Because I ain't gonna lie, the end of that fight was absolutely brutal. And Emmanuel Aleem came out from the opening bell, him and Diego Pacheco looking to Aleem, you could see what his game plan was off of the rip, and I thought that it was pretty obvious. He was supposed to take that little Kevin Sajo approach. I believe his first name was Kevin, and be physical with Diego Pacheco, pushing back. Punch with bad intentions and really discourage Diego Pacheco where, he's attempting to hold you and not really looking to engage with you and stuff like that. But the thing about Emmanuel Aleem that a lot of people don't take into consideration is that he's very undersized for the super middleweight division as well. Very undersized for the division. So when you're in there with a 6'4" super middleweight, that may be very strong in his own right and is really built for the weight class, you might have some difficulties being physical with that person. I mean, you may think that the Sajo approach was a good, game plan, but are you physically strong like a Kevin Sajo? I don't really perceive Emmanuel Aleem to be as strong as him, but regardless, you can see what he was trying to do. And I've seen Diego Pacheco controlling the action behind a sharp, precise jab, man. That was definitely the thing that stood out to me the most outside of, him stepping on the gas in the later rounds. His jab was very effective, man. He kept that jab on Emmanuel Aleem. Emmanuel Aleem was looking to close the gap however he could, but that jab was just absolutely phenomenal. It was accurate. It was on point. And you could see early on that it really frustrated Emmanuel Aleem. And regardless of whatever, little attempts that he made, even when he would close the gap successfully, he would end up smothering his work. It would be hard for him to land flush shots. And then, if necessary, Diego Pacheco will hold him and force the referee to break the fight up. But he was fucking up Emmanuel Aleem's rhythm. You know what I mean? And then I started to see Diego Pacheco mixing those right hands. And it seemed like the right hand was just missing the mark. The accuracy on the right hand was a little bit off in the beginning rounds. But I seen what Diego Pacheco was trying to do. You know what I mean? He wanted to play, the outside game. He just wanted to pepper him with the jabs, frustrate him, I guess, and throw those right hands in between. But I was getting a little frustrated as a boxing fan, as a boxing coach, to be honest with you, because I seen very early on that Diego Pacheco was having success with his jab. And what a lot of people don't know and what they say in boxing gyms a lot of the times is if you can hit somebody with a jab, you can hit somebody with anything. You can hit that person with anything. You know what I mean? Because the jab sets everything up. So if you're landing that first punch, who's to say you can't land that second, third, or fourth? So I seen that there was plenty of opportunities for Diego Pacheco to step on the gas and really put a beating on Emmanuel Aleem. But looking things over, I think that Diego Pacheco just wanted to be a little bit more disciplined. I think he wanted to be a little bit more patient and just not jump out the window. I don't know if it was, respect that he had for Emmanuel Aleem being a veteran and stuff like that. I don't know exactly what the mentality was behind, delaying the gear switch, but he did it nonetheless. And, I think those first, I'm going to say 4 rounds. I'm going to say those first 4 rounds, he pretty much was on, first gear. It really wasn't trying to step outside of that for whatever reason. But in like rounds 5 to 6, he started to get comfortable and laying like clean power shots on Emmanuel Aleem, to the head and the body. Aleem was very durable. He stood up to some hellacious shots, but he was getting hit too clean. And I knew that in the later rounds, if he continued to get hit clean like that he was going to break down because, these motherfucking fighters out here ain't superheroes. You know what I'm saying? They just can't withstand a whole bunch of damage and still be 100%. Everybody has their limits, and I knew that Emmanuel Aleem will end up reaching his if he continued to take clean shots like that, man. One of the most, standout rounds to me was actually round 7 because I actually had seen a moment where Emmanuel Aleem had landed a right hand on Diego Pacheco. And I'm not going to say that Diego Pacheco was hurt, but there was a moment where, it looked like Diego Pacheco had to reset real quick. Like you could tell it probably buzzed him slightly. And he was like, you know what, let me reset so I can get my bearings back together because that might have just disrupted his rhythm just a little bit. But shortly after the fact, I actually seen Emmanuel Aleem get hurt. I believe that was with an uppercut. It might have been an uppercut, and it definitely got Aleem's attention. He was staggering, and I just knew from there that if Diego Pacheco stepped on the gas, that Aleem could get stopped. And I told everybody in the chat that he was going to end up getting packed. I just didn't know exactly what round it would be because, I saw the Lester Martinez fight from Aleem, so I know that he's very much durable and he could take some shots. One thing, and I was trying to avoid saying this, but fuck it, I'm going to say it because this is something that I noticed throughout the fight, and it was that, bro, Aleem was getting terrible corner instructions, bro. Yo, Chad, I don't know if y'all peep that shit, bro. But bro, like I'm just so sick of these trainers being in positions where they're literally instructing fighters on huge fights, like on some of the biggest stages. And they really sit there and give their fighters the most terrible instructions that they could ever come up with, man. This dude, Emmanuel Aleem, apparently that's his father. No disrespect to the OG, no disrespect to the pops, but goddamn, bro, you did not give your son any instructions that could have been able to turn the tide or anything like that. Actually, I heard the assistant coach giving better instructions than the main coach. And I'm like, man, if that's the case, y'all just need to go ahead and switch spaces. But you know how the way these fathers be and how prideful they are and how they don't really want to step outside of their role. You know what I mean? They wouldn't reduce their role because they may hurt their ego and shit like that. But man, I heard more motivational speeches more than, precise instructions that, could have turned the tide for Emmanuel, because at that point in time, Aleem was losing the fight. I didn't really give him a round, to be honest with you, but he still had something left in the tank. You feel what I'm saying? And what I heard was, oh, he's tired. Oh, you have to win this. Oh, you have to hit him. Oh, you have to be more aggressive. You got to let your hands go. Oh. And it's like, bro, those instructions are so vague that there's no way that a fighter could listen to them instructions and actually come out of that corner and be like, okay, I know what he wants. I know how he wants it. Like you're not telling him what's available for Diego Pacheco to get hit with. You're not pointing out any defensive flaws. Like for one, man, like bro, as much as he was getting hit with that uppercut, could you have at least told Emmanuel Aleem to not put his head over his knee? Could you at least have told him that when you're not throwing punches to slide your head off of the line, slip side to side? How about every time Diego Pacheco pulls back, his hands are completely down? Why not tell your fighter to close the gap with the jab and then try to loop something over the top, or at least shoot something straight right down the middle so you can catch him going backwards? Diego Pacheco left a lot of, this is something that I pointed out as well that I noticed. Diego has some terrible defensive flaws, in my opinion. And it's crazy because I didn't really see that early on in his career. I don't know what's making him do it now. But every time I see Diego Pacheco get attacked by an opponent, in this fight with Emmanuel Aleem, he's pulling straight back with his hands down. Pulling straight back with his hands down. I don't know if that's just something that he's accustomed to doing since he's tall and, he usually gets out of range pretty easily that way. I don't know if he's just been getting away with it for so long that it just became a habit of his. But, bro, at a high level, especially against somebody who's tall and rangy like you, like a Hamza Shiraz, you cannot afford to do no shit like that. Absolutely not, man. Especially with Hamza Shiraz training with Andy Lee and shit like that, they gonna be drilling that straight right hand that whole fucking camp. And if they catch you one of them, Hamza is strong. He can have you touch that motherfucking canvas, man. Can Buddy fix it? Absolutely. Yeah, that's fixable. Yes. But is Buddy McGirt gonna watch the film, take that into consideration, and then go into the lab and fix it? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So that was something that I noticed. Emmanuel Aleem could have taken advantage of certain things, but when you're not being given proper instructions, it may be hard for you to see certain things. So that's just one thing I wanted to point it out as well, man. On the other hand, I seen Diego Pacheco's corner. It was definitely levels to this coaching shit tonight. Diego Pacheco was receiving calm, precise, informative instruction from Buddy McGirt. Wouldn't expect nothing less. Buddy McGirt is a former fighter, former world champion, from what I understand. And this man done work with so many fighters. He done been a part of so many big fights that I'm not surprised that Buddy McGirt did a good job with the corner instructions. He's been doing it so long, you ain't got no choice but to get better, to be honest with you. When I really started to see Diego Pacheco break Aleem down, I'm going to say that shit started to get dark, in my opinion, in the 9th round. Because, early on in the fight, Diego Pacheco had a little bit of trouble pushing Aleem back. Aleem was still strong. He still was energetic. He still had gas left in the tank. But once that 9th round came around, I actually seen Diego Pacheco abandon his jab. I seen him abandon his jab. and, adopt more of an inside fighting type of style. And pretty much made it uncomfortable dog fight with Aleem. And that round was pretty ugly in my opinion, but it went. I think that Diego Pacheco noticed, or at least his team noticed, that Aleem was starting to fade. So he was like, all right, let's make this a little bit more of a physical fight for this round. So when we go into these championship rounds, he won't have no gas left in the tank. Great strategy, great approach from Diego Pacheco. Risky, but this game's just risky overall. And I even seen Diego Pacheco taking some deep breaths in between the rounds, so he definitely was feeling it as well. Seeing him shake his hand during the case of the round, I was pretty concerned that he might actually have an injury, but he was still letting it go. So that gave me some reassurance that at least it wasn't a severe injury. But he actually let off a series of that ninth round, it was a bit physical, a bit taxing on Emmanuel Aleem. And then what made me feel like that inside physical approach was strategic was in the following round, in round 10, Diego Pacheco let off some hellacious shots. Like it was deadly combination, snapping, Aleem head back. And it got to the point where I felt like Aleem had nothing left in the tank whatsoever. His head snapping back. He's feeling the effects of all of the shots. And I slowly but surely saw Emmanuel Aleem going into survival mode. So he took a lot of punishment in that round. And that round right there alone, if I was in his corner, I probably would have stopped the fight. It was getting a little bit ugly. And as a coach, you got to notice when fighters don't got shit left. You know what I mean? Like you really got to look at that. And Aleem had nothing in the tank whatsoever, but they still proceeded to let him come out. I think the referee took a look at him. They made him walk back and forth just to see if his coordination was all right. The doctor thought it was okay to continue. So they went ahead into the 11th round. And man, Aleem really got bullied throughout the course of that round, man. He was taking some flush shots. I literally seen him getting pushed back, which wasn't going on in the beginning of the round. So that's how I just knew that Aleem was spent. Like I said, seen him going into survival mode, and then he got dropped in the last minute of the round. So when he got dropped, the referee actually gave him a count. I would have been okay with him waving the fight off right there, but they gave Aleem a lot of leeway, I'm gonna say, because there's a lot of fighters who been in less trouble and got the fight waved off after getting knocked down or whatever the case is. But a series of combinations from Diego Pacheco had Aleem defenseless, staggered, and they stopped the fight at the end of the 11th round. In my opinion, it was a great stoppage, but I do think that Aleem's corner could have done him some justice and stopped the fight earlier to save the fighter from further damage, man. But, overall, what I mean? I guess it was good that Diego Pacheco got those rounds in. Maybe that's just what he needed, because it just seems like his whole thing is just, developing the chemistry with his coach, just being confident in the work that he's putting in. And he seems to be very happy with his situation with Buddy McGurk and his team and stuff like that. He seems like he's in a real good place. And he went ahead and he called out Jaime Munguia. But I think he made it clear that he was okay with whatever fight was presented to him. I know the Hamza Shiraz fight was presented to him, but I guess they looking at the Jaime Munguia fight because financially it could make more sense. We got Mexico versus Mexican American. They actually would like to have the fight happen in California as well. That could generate a lot of business. So I can see why they're going that route. And plus, at the end of the day, it is a championship level fight. So we can't say that Diego Pacheco is ducking smoke with the champions and shit like that. But, I actually think that's a great fight. I wouldn't mind seeing that at all. Jaime Munguia could definitely present a lot of trouble for Diego Pacheco. But if Diego Pacheco keeps the fight at range, boxes, be responsible with his defense and actually has some great conditioning, he could probably give Jaime Munguia a boxing lesson. Jaime Munguia, he punches in combinations. He got good power. Offensively, he's very creative. He's very dangerous offensively, but I think all around the board, like IQ, we seen that Jaime Munguia can get sparked. I think he's very much beatable. And plus, Jaime Munguia is not really going to have the size advantage against Diego Pacheco. You know what I'm saying? So I do think that Diego Pacheco could possibly beat Jaime Munguia. It's a good fight, but Jaime Munguia has dog in him. Uh, Great conditioning. He goes to the body well. He's strong. So they both present problems to each other. And I actually think that's like a 50-50 fight in my head. You know what I'm saying? But that's just me. I wouldn't mind seeing that fight at all. That'd be a good fight for the Mexicans out there. And Diego Pacheco sounded like he had some people in that crowd. My boy Justin Jackson was out there, so maybe he could speak for it. But how the way they was cheering and all of that, it seemed like they were happy to see Diego Pacheco. So I see a lot of the people criticizing Diego Pacheco. I understand. A lot of people were frustrated with his performance because they felt like he could have done more early on in the fight. I felt the same way because, in all honesty, he was having his way with Emmanuel Aleem off of the rip. You know what I'm saying? That jab was effective almost immediately. So I think that Diego Pacheco should have taken them chances early, and he could have possibly gotten an early stoppage. But I guess he took the slow approach. He wanted to take his time and let the knockout build up. That's one way to go about it. But one thing about boxing fans, they want to see the action off the rip. But at the end of the day, he still got the stoppage victory. Wasn't his best performance in my opinion. It just seemed like he was so much more aggressive when he was with David Benavidez and them, man. Like I don't know exactly what changed with Diego Pacheco. I don't know if that Sajo fight discouraged him a little bit since he got knocked down and shit like that. But we're seeing a more reserved Diego Pacheco, like a guy who's a little bit more in his head, somebody who's thinking a little bit more. Maybe it's because of the rise in competition. You know what I'm saying? Like the Trevor McCumbee fight. You know what I mean? Like he outboxed Trevor McCumbee. Trevor McCumbie's strong. He's awkward. He's dangerous. I get it. But I think that he could have. I think he could have stopped McCumbee just like Caleb Plant did. If he had have moved correctly. But I felt like he underperformed in that situation. Then the Sajo fight, he's dangerous. He's strong as fuck. That ain't somebody you really need to be playing with. So I think that he could have been in better shape for that fight. I think he could have avoided the physicality in that fight and boxed a little bit more. But I felt like I think he took the wrong approach and he even underperformed in that fight as well. So I don't know what's been going on with Diego Pacheco. I don't know if it's a lack of focus. I don't know if it's a change up in mentality that has him underperforming. I don't know. But this one right here, it wasn't the worst performance, but it definitely wasn't his best. But I'll take this performance with Aleem over the last two performances that he had with McCumbee and Sajo. So it is what it is. Diego stopped training with Jose Benavidez Sr. after the Steven Nelson fight. And I think that was his last good performance. He beat the dog shit out of Steven Nelson. Did his thing against Steven Nelson. So I don't know exactly what happened. I don't know. A lot of them dudes was leaving Jose Benavidez. Rayo left him. Diego left him. I don't know what the reasoning is, but it just seems like since he's left that camp, we're seeing a different side of Diego. You said Pacheco has a suspect chin. How? Because he got dropped. We need to start clarifying when we hear that shit. Now, what I'm gonna say is I thought Aleem buzzed him in that seventh round, and I think what bothers me about Pacheco is that he doesn't really hide it too well when he feels the effect of a shot. And I always tell guys like you gotta have a good poker face in this shit. I mean the legs don't lie, so your legs may very well tell on you. You know what I'm saying? That's a real thing. Hold on, y'all. Give me 1 second. Mm, my fault, y'all. Give me 1 second. We almost there. All right. Diego don't trust his chin, probably. I mean, that could be a thing. You know what I mean? If you had a career where, like, early on in your career, you never been dropped, you never really faced much adversity. You know what I mean? You never really felt anybody's power. Then suddenly you in there with somebody who makes you, touch the canvas or buckles you or whatever the case is. That can be a, a negative thought that could, plague your mind. And that's why I always say, man, I feel like all fighters or just athletes in general, they all need sports psychologists, man. I feel like that's an investment that needs to be made because eventually you're going to face some sort of adversity and you need to find your way. You got to find a way to understand your thoughts and you need to talk to somebody who understands your mentality or why you think the way you think. And then you got to find ways to solve those negative thoughts or get rid of those negative thoughts or at least find ways around them. You know what I'm saying? So if you're a fighter that's coming up, especially if you got the funds for it or you know what I'm saying, you're a high level fighter, there's no reason why you shouldn't have a sports psychologist on your team. You know what I'm saying? Because if you try to deal with these thoughts on your own, you know what I mean? That shit could tear you up inside, man. Pause. That shit could really have a effect on you psychologically in a negative way and it could plague you for the rest of your career. I feel like guys like, and these guys clearly be having mental health issues, man. Like Teofimo Lopez is like somebody who stands out to me the most. Like, I don't know if he's ever seen a sports psychologist, but he definitely needs one because that dude's mind is just all over the place. I think Gervonta Davis is another one. I think he needs a sports psychologist. Rolly Romero. I feel like he could have definitely used one at one point. Like I see it, man. I be seeing that these dudes be having like real tribulations, like real struggles going on in their head, and they just don't know how to overcome it. So, man, y'all need to invest in a sports psychologist ASAP. Uh, Boxer Sparring said Diego Pacheco beat the shit out of Emmanuel Galagos, same dude that gave Najee Lopez all sorts of fits. Yeah, it's a different mentality. It's a different mentality, man. Like I said, when Pacheco was with David Benavidez and them, we actually seen him like ice and shit, beating people up and taking those chances, more aggressive off the leash type of approach. And you know, since he's been away from them, now we're seeing shit like just him thinking a little bit more, taking a few more rounds to figure things out. It's just more of of an intellectual approach, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if you're looking to build your IQ or you just want to become a more intelligent fighter, then it is what it is, or at least work on your IQ, whatever it is. I get it, but if that approach is working for you, then I don't see why you would step outside of that. I really don't. You know what I'm saying? They need a Wilder psychologist. I think he just got a general psychologist. That's what I think. No, I think Wilder said he was fucking with like what the fuck is this dude name? Nah, not dude. They say he was fucking with that toad. Like them what's that shit called? They like psychedelics. They say he was fucking with psychedelics. That's why he started acting like that. I'm not gonna tell you to fuck with shrooms and none of that shit, but I mean definitely get you a sports psychologist, that's for sure. My boy Boxer Sparring said, I 100% agree with you, Mark, but fighters rather spend money on cars and chains instead of a sports psychologist or nutritionist. Yeah, I never really understood that shit, man. Like them cars and the chains, you don't need none of that, bro. Chains are a fucking big waste of money. And I'm glad Boot stopped buying chains when he did. He said he bought a chain he said the chains he bought like 5 years ago. I'm glad he got that shit out the way. I mean, it's nice little decorations, trophies, whatever you want to call them. That shit is a waste of money. That's some of the biggest. Jewelers are some of the biggest scammers in the world, bro. I don't give a fuck how much money. I don't know how much money I'm gonna make in this lifetime, but you ain't never gonna catch. I got a simple gold chain with a gold boxing pendant on the shit. The boxing pendant was a gift, and that boxing chain, I think my mom bought me that shit when I was a young boy. Like, oh, bro, I don't be spending money on no materialistic shit. Anybody that ever seen me outside or whatever the case is, bro, I never dress flashy. I never you know what I mean? I be keeping that shit super simple. I don't be giving a fuck about nobody opinions, none of that. Ayahuasca, yeah, stay away from that shit. That shit fuck Wilder up, man. In my opinion. But Fanuel, what up? Anonymous said, to be fair, the Gallegos fight was at a different weight, and I think Gallegos was definitely better at 175. Yeah, it was crazy that Gallegos was fighting at weights like 168. The Gallegos was a big ass boy. Yeah, that's a big ass Mexican, bro. It's a big motherfucker right there. They said don't do DMT. Man, I ain't doing none of that. Like, you not even gonna catch me smoking weed, let alone no motherfucking DMT. Shit. I don't fuck with liquor, none of that. You ain't never gonna catch me on any of that. I don't be knowing what be in that shit. And I be hearing about motherfuckers doing them Jones and they never the same. Start tweaking. Trick said, thoughts on the press conference today? Oh, we talking about the Ryan Garcia and Conor Ben shit. I mean, it's like it was a no, man, it's just two cornballs, man. Like that's how I see it, bro. I'm trying to tell you, I don't like neither one of them dudes, man. So, Ryan Garcia was up there. I don't know what's up with these, bro. That trend's so corny. Like the motherfucking the dress pants with the tank top. Like I don't really be understanding that shit. That shit's super corny to me. But Ryan Garcia was up there popping his shit. Conor Ben, trying to be gangster. Cause his whole image is like tough guy. But like don't nobody believe that shit. We all know you insecure. We all know you really not like that. You know what I'm saying? Like to us, you a weenie. You feel what I'm saying? You just a nigga who just be talking crazy. You talk a good game. Motherfuckers ain't buying that shit that you selling. So he was over here threatening to smack Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia and him got up, and Dana White tussling with these niggas to keep them in their spaces and all of that. That's just them promoting, man. I mean, I would call it some WWE shit, but I'm saying that's promotion at the end of the day, and it is what it is. Ryan Conor been up there with that motherfucking with the gold braids, looking like motherfucking gold dust and shit like that. We got Ryan Garcia up there. Look like he about to buy a dime of that ooh wee. You feel me? That's just a tight time that them niggas on. Like I mean they got a fight on their hands, so that's what's up. I seen Berlanga and Richardson Hitchens was up there too. I'm surprised that I just seen Hitchens talking shit about Ryan Garcia in the interview, and now he was on stage with him and he said a single word about him. I thought that was interesting. I don't know, bro. I don't know. They said Kamaru Usman iconic for that. Ain't Kamaru Usman fighting today? Did he fight already? He was fighting that boy Drakus, right? Or some shit like that. What happened with that fight? Damn, Usman got whooped. Damn. Damn, man. For real? That's sad. Damn, I thought he was gonna do all right. But I don't really know that. I don't really know that nigga. So his knees gave out. I heard his knees been a problem though. I heard his knees been a problem. They said that nigga had to walk down the steps backwards. I was like, what? When I heard that, ain't no fucking way. I wonder if Usman ever tried to do like stem cell therapy on his knees and shit like that. I heard that shit do miracles for motherfuckers with bad injuries. Rampage said he did it and his knees feel brand new. Cause them oblique kicks that John Jones gave Rampage fucked his knees up. But he said when he did stem cell therapy, that shit is expensive though. He said it pretty much healed him. And there's people who had like real bad injuries, did stem cell therapy, and then doctors would be like, "Oh, you need to get surgery." And then when they do the stem cells, they be like, "Bro, like your injury has completely healed." So I don't know. Oh, okay. So he made it to the car, so it ain't like he got stopped or nothing. Well, that's good. Yeah, man. Everybody got their time though, but Kamaru had a good run though. He had a good run. Can't be mad at him. He had a good run. I remember when he was that. I remember when he was that young up and coming contender. He called out Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley was trying to talk crazy to him, act like he was a nobody and all that. Yo, Tyron Woodley was trying to run game on Usman. Usman wasn't going for it though. The Usman whooped on Tyron. He had a nice little run after that. Slept Jorge Masvidal and all that. He had some good moments, man. Shout out to Kamaru, man. But if your knees that bad where you got to walk down the steps backwards, it's not good. You think they will make stem cells for the brain? That sounds like it does wonders. I've never even really thought about this. Z, I ain't even gonna lie to you, but man, with how the way technology advancing right now, see this is me with just my conspiracy theory head on. I think there's a cure for all this shit that be out here. I think they got a solution to all these problems. But the thing is, if they give you the solution to all the problems, they ain't gonna make no money. So if they ain't gonna make no money, why would they? If they in the business to make money, and you know what I mean, they rather just keep you sick or keep you unhealthy, whatever the case is, so they could keep billing you. And this is coming from somebody who got a chronic illness. I already know how this shit go. Can't nobody tell me different. They got a cure for all this shit. These niggas want you to do better. If you are an important person or you know the right people, you could get better. Trust me. I don't give a fuck what disease you got. These motherfuckers making these diseases. You don't think they know how to cure them? Come on, man. Do I want to see DDP versus Sean Strickland? Thoughts on that fight? I can't speak on it, brother. I really can't. I don't know anything about DDP. Duplexes, whatever the fuck his name is. Yep. If they just gave you the cure, these doctors wouldn't be getting paid what they getting paid. These the medical, the medicine industry, the medicinal industry, whatever you want to call them, the pharmaceutical industry, these niggas would not be making the money that they making. I was just hearing some shit. I was reading some shit on social media where they said they could charge for a bag of saline, they could charge you up to, what the fuck did I read? They could charge you up to like $7,000. Hold on. I was reading some shit. It was like, yo, they could charge you up. What? They could charge you up to $10K for a bag of saline, bro. And like the price it is for it was so cheap. It's like, bro, these niggas, they be tripping. Magic Johnson, oh yeah, look, we don't even gotta get into that. I ain't gonna speak too much on that, but like I said, bro, motherfuckers want you better, they'll get you better. That's all I know. If you the right person and you know the right people, they could get rid of that shit. If you a powerful person, I'm sure some of these powerful ass people that's in office, you know what I mean? That's some of the richest people, in the world. I'm sure they done had 1,000,001 diseases that we don't even know about, but they just got rid of that shit like this. These motherfuckers probably done had cancer, AIDS, diabetes, whatever it is that could take you off this earth. And I got that shit taken care of. Do I believe in the ice wall and that the earth is flat? Bro, I swear to God, bro, I don't be knowing nothing about that shit. I don't even engage in those conversations. I don't even know what the fuck you mean by the ice wall and the earth being flat. Bro, I'm not the person to have them conversations with. My mind don't even. I don't know, bro. Can't speak on that. Bob Arum is 110 years old and still going strong. Yeah, I was reading some shit about Bob Arum. They said that his son died on Mount Everest, climbing Mount Everest. I was like, what the fuck? That's like the most random shit in the world. I just don't understand why niggas. I swear, bro. White people be the only motherfuckers that got the courage to do shit like that. Like, bro, there's literally dead bodies. When you climbing up Mount Everest, I heard there's dead bodies. They got pictures of it. You can see it online. There's dead bodies that they walk past. And they keep the bodies there to show you how dangerous it is if you keep going up. Bro, fuck that. Fuck that shit, bro. I'm trying to stay here as long as I can for my son. I am not, and my family, I am not going to do no shit that could possibly take away my life and me knowing it. Like, there's no way I'm going to purposely put my life on the line to go climb a fucking mountain that motherfuckers just be freezing to death on. I'm cool. My boy Tricks in the building said, thoughts on Bozy telling Ortiz to kick rocks. We want a unification with Fundora. I mean, listen, one thing about them tables, they going to turn, right? When you were at the height of your powers, a few months back, and Boots just had his first fight at 154. Y'all was saying that Boots had to earn his way. Yeah, I mean, y'all didn't even want him to show up to y'all fight with Erickson Lubin. And then when he called you out, you said you're willing to do the fight, but then 10 minutes afterwards, you're talking about your dream fight is Errol Spence. So y'all were doing whatever y'all can to put Jaron Ennis on the back burner. Y'all try to make him feel irrelevant, unimportant, unproven. You know what I'm saying? And Boost was just like, yo, like, I'm willing to make the biggest fights happen. I want all of the belts. I'm taking over the division. He stood strong on that. Oh, Boots wants to do 2 tune-ups. Oh, he wants to do this. Oh, he declined the fight. Oh, so many times, blah, blah. But then, when he actually got that fight with Luis Malima, stopped him in the first round, and then came around to try to make the fight happen with y'all, all of a sudden, y'all have a whole Golden Boy has a whole breakdown. Y'all have a whole motherfucking episode in front of the boxing world, and then y'all end up going to a lawsuit. Now, coincidentally, and I rarely believe in coincidences, by the way, coincidentally, right after Boots fight Xander Zayas, all of a sudden, y'all guys are seeing eye to eye, and now we work things out, and now we're cool again. Okay, so now y'all out here calling out Sebastian Fundora. Y'all out here calling out Jaron Ennis. Virgil Ortiz said he spoke with Mauricio to try to consolidate the belts, which you should have been done, to be honest with you. I'm gonna put more of the blame on Mauricio for that, because we all know he out here being a fucking scam artist. But they try to shit on Boots, act like he wasn't a factor. Oh, we at the top of the division, 55-45, 5% goes to the winner, blah, blah. Boots is willing to settle for all of that. Y'all had y'all little issues. Y'all didn't make the fight happen. So, the Xander Zayas opportunity came across his, table. He signed a dotted line. Now he's a unified champion of the world. Now y'all out here begging for a fight. And that's the thing. Sebastian Fundora team, Samson Lukowicz, he just came out with an article on Boxing Scene and was basically saying how them niggas ain't worried about no fucking Virgil Ortiz, and they rather fight Boots. So it seemed like everybody's saying the same thing about Virgil and them, but don't nobody want to hear it. Nobody really wants to hear it. So let me go ahead and pull this shit up, man. Where is this shit at? I was just reading this shit. Where is Samson Lukowicz at? Let me pull up Samson Lukowicz. All right, so Boxing News 24 came out with this shit. So it says, let me see what. The blunt assessment came from Fundora's promoter, Samson Lukowicz, who fired back at Ortiz's manager, Rick Meridian, accused Fundora's team of repeatedly avoiding the WBC interim champ, which is Wait, I feel like I should pull this up on Boxing Scene. I hate when people quote other articles. I'd rather just go to the main article. Mm-hmm. Huh. All right. I found it. Samson Lukowitz, because they out here saying, "Oh, we try to fight Fundora. Fundora doesn't want to fight us." Blah blah blah. Lukowitz responds and says, "Let him know, and you could put this on the record, that it looks like Meridian doesn't know how to manage his fighter. He could lose the fight with Fundora now because my friendship with Golden Boy is deeper than he thinks. What he did with Golden Boy is shameful, and to say that is shameful too. The only thing he's doing is hurting his fighter because he doesn't know how to shut his mouth." What the hell? Few know WBC rules better than Lukowitz. However, he said he is free to take Fundora to the Ennis Kelly winner for unification instead of giving Ortiz an early 2027 fight. This defense is mandatory, then it will be boots, Lukowitz said. He said he feels no obligations to Ortiz and Meridian. He had a shot. Not now. I have my schedule, and I will let you know. Freddie Fundora and Sebastian, I never said no to any challenge, and he's demonstrated many times that he's fought quality opponents, including Tim Tszyu. I'd rather go to a unification with boots. So now Ortiz is 2 years away. He's a good fighter, not a great fighter, but he doesn't sell, and he has the wrong management. He's supposed to be the mandatory, but thanks to his management fighting with De La Hoya, he lost the opportunity. So who is afraid? His boxer should be afraid of his manager. Now he'll wait. God damn. God damn. That boy Virgil can't catch a break. God damn. That nigga said he gotta wait 2 years. Bro, how old is Virgil Ortiz, bro? Ooh-wee. Virgil Ortiz is 28 years old. Oh my God. I'm like 2 months older than this nigga. All right. So you're gonna have to wait until you're 30 years old to get a fucking opportunity for a world title at 54. Jesus Christ. Listen. You see why when you get opportunities, you're supposed to take them? Because remember back, and I keep bringing this up, but I don't care, man. I'm going to keep bringing it up. Remember when Xander Zayas told this motherfucker Virgil, yo, you want to fight for my WBO super welterweight title? Come fight me in Puerto Rico. What Virgil Ortiz's team do? Oscar De La Hoya, Rick Meridian, and all of them. Oh no, we're not gonna fight you in Puerto Rico. If you want to fight, let's do it in Vegas. Tell a challenger, a mere challenger, telling a champion where he should fight to defend for his first title defense. Y'all over here flexing, acting as if y'all somebody at the motherfucking negotiation table. Y'all try to do that shit with Boots. Then when Boots was willing to accept that shit, all of a sudden y'all at odds with each other. The manager beefing with the promoter beefing with the fighter beefing with the promoter. All this shit is going on. Now y'all coming back into the mix. Now y'all saying, oh no, we got to. They was out here talking about, oh, a fight's close to being done. No, the fuck is not. Oh, we already got the structure in place. No, the fuck y'all don't. Y'all got to start all over again because a lot of shit done changed since you've been gone, brother. So now Boots in them in a position where, just like how y'all was saying, fuck Boots, he could say fuck y'all because that's what y'all tried to do. Y'all thought y'all was going to move on from this Boots situation and y'all was going to run into a better situation. No, y'all ain't think Xander was going to give Boots an opportunity, but they did. Now Fundora out here seemed like he done grew some fucking nuts. And now they saying that in 2027, Boots is next. So now you sitting here watching all these, because you passed up opportunities in the past, now these niggas is passing you up. Everybody is superseding Virgil Ortiz, and there's nothing that he could do. Now he just got to sit there and wait to see who's going to be willing to give him an opportunity. And Lucas said that it could go back as far as 2 years. Crazy. My boy Ghost said that's Virgil and his team fault. They could have fought Xander, but ducked him, and Boots now crying. And Boots. They ducked him and Boots, now crying for an opportunity, and Samson capping. He won't put Fundora in there after he said Fundora will never fight Xander. I don't expect him to put him against Boots. Well, we'll see. We'll see. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they talking a good game right now, but they could go ahead and do the same shit Virgil did. You know, I don't trust Samson Lukowitz. I don't trust Fundora's team. I think that they moving real calculated. I think they move very scary too. But they talking a good game right now, and because they have a world title, we're going to see what they do. They do have some significance, you know, in the 154-pound division. They do have some influence. You know, a lot of people claim that Fundora is the best at 154 pounds right now. You know, ever since the Lubin victory, I mean, not the Lubin victory. Ever since the Keith Thurman victory, everybody been jumping out the woodwork saying how good Fundora is and how, you know, he could beat Boots and all that. And that's good. It's good that you have your own opinion. I respect it. But I mean, we're going to see. We're going to see. He going to fight Ermal, and then, you know, hopefully Jerron Ennis and Josh Kelly fight each other at the end of the year as well. And then, you know, there's a possibility for Fundora to fight for Undisputed. But this is what I wanted to point out, y'all, and I never got around to it. I'm glad we brought up this conversation. Chat, do y'all remember, y'all could just rewind back, Sebastian Fundora's post-fight press conference after he defeated Keith Thurman, basically saying, and he said this in front of the people. He said in front of the people that he's not really interested in any of the belts because they didn't want to work with him. You know what I mean? Like, he don't really care for being undisputed and all of that. So he said that he'll fight these dudes, and after he fight these dudes, he'll just go ahead and drop the belts. Y'all remember that? Now Fundora, when he did that press conference, pretty much celebrating, you know, the Zone and PBC working together, Fundora was like, man, I'm sick of just seeing. I mean, he was trying to be funny, but you know, I see, because you know his sister Gabriella Fundora is undisputed, from what I understand. He was like, oh man, you know, I'm sick of just seeing my sister having all of the belts. I want to have all of the belts too. That's a whole 180. That's a whole 180. What's making you change your mind now? You weren't interested in the belts at first. All of a sudden, you're interested in the belts. Why is that? Very, very interesting. I wish somebody would have pressed a little bit more on that to see what's the change in mentality, Sebastian, because you said before you ain't really care for the belts too much, even said you'll go as far as dropping them after winning them. Now you're saying you want all of the belts. So what's the change in mentality? Were you frustrated with the sanctioning bodies? What was going on? You know what I'm saying? And Fundora even said that he was upset with Samson because Samson and them made them look like they was ducking. I mean, like Samson, he really don't be caring about how the way his fighters are perceived publicly, because why the fuck after Boots fights Xander Zayas and he's calling Sebastian Fundora out immediately after the fight, you go ahead and say, oh, we're fighting somebody in September. Why would you just jump out and say that? You just making it seem like y'all not interested in the fight. And if y'all not interested in the fight against another champion in your division, you look like a duck. But, you know, it is what it is. These dudes are bad at understand. Like, they a lot of these promoters, too, you know, Samson up there in age, too, he probably don't even know. He probably not even tapped in with the public like that to really know what they think. He probably don't give a fuck, to be honest. But right away, too, after the Boots fight, that's what made him look bad, Tricks. Immediately after Boots fight, oh, no, we're not fighting Boots. We're going to fight him. It's like, what? Y'all just... Why y'all ain't announced this before? Because it sounded like it was already signed. How the way he said it was already signed, sealed, delivered. Why y'all wait until after the Boots fight to announce it? You should have announced it in the lead up to the Boots and Xander fight. Nigga said Samson look like a grimy car salesman. That's crazy. But yeah, man, that nigga Samson said Virgil got to wait another 2 years, and this nigga Eddie is like, yo, like, that's still a big fight, but we got options. You know what I mean? Just like how y'all was acting like, and can't nobody criticize, Eddie Hearn or Boots for that because, like I said, they was pushing for that Virgil fight. They did whatever they could to lock in that fight. They were negotiating for months. Boots was pushing his fight dates back, all of that just to make the fight happen. Took a lesser split, even when it didn't even make sense for Boots to settle for less of a split because he is a bigger name. He sells more than Virgil. He still took the lesser split. And Virgil and them was trying to flex as if they was champions when they've never had a fucking legit world title. You flexing an interim belt and a #1 Ring Magazine ranking. Y'all even had the Ring Magazine belt. And Boots still was giving y'all more than what the fuck y'all was worth. Giving y'all sacrificing bread to fight y'all. Y'all did all this shit. And y'all still was even on top of that, y'all was still talking about fighting Earl Spence. Boots has to earn his way. He got to earn his stripes. So, bro, Boots is more decorated than you. Because even before going into 154, he was a unified champion at 47. You've never unified, let alone win one title. Fuck, you look like telling Boots that he need to earn his way. That's what Virgil Ortiz Sr. said. Shit was ridiculous. So now they at the bottom of the motherfucking totem pole, looking up, seeing these motherfuckers shining when they could have easily, if they move correctly, could have easily been amongst the champions and be a part of these unification fights. Now you gotta sit back and watch everybody else eat. Crazy. Here go my girl trolling. At minimum, Virgil should be fighting Bakram his next fight. He's not gonna fight no Bakram. That's too risky of a fight. And if you're on the cusp of fighting for a world title, man, they gonna give Virgil all these. They not gonna take no chances for real, bro. They not gonna put him in there with no Bakram, where he could possibly lose, and then he really gonna have to start back from square one. They gonna give him as many easy fights as possible until them world title fights come up again. I really don't see him taking any risk. Oscar gonna keep him as safe as possible before he cash him the fuck out. That's what Oscar do. He be keeping his fighters as safe as possible until it's time to cash him out. He did it with Jaime Munguia. He did that shit with William Cepeda. He doing that shit with Floyd Schofield right now. Am I a fan of Ortiz? No, I actually like Virgil Ortiz. I do. I think it's just because I think a lot of people don't really notice it because I'm a bigger fan of Boots, and his name is associated with Boots' name all the time. So I'm rooting for Boots to beat Virgil. But I like Virgil as a fighter. He got a style that I fuck with. Y'all good? I like his style. He got a lot of good. He got good power. He got good speed. He explosive. He good finishing ability. Yeah, Virgil a dog too. He got heart. Come in dog shape. Real stubborn type mentality. A lot of grit. Virgil nice. You said why Bud keeps sneak dissing Boots? Dude is a lame. He's still talking about Boots, or that's some old. I hope Bud not doing that. Not right now. That shit should be deaded already. That gotta be old news. I doubt Bud's still talking. Eddie said Ortiz could fight Kelly, but I think Boots might get it. Why the tricks? Think about it this way, right? Eddie Hearn promotes Boots and Josh Kelly, right? Think about it this way. Do you think that Eddie Hearn is going to give up a world title to possibly give the Golden Boy when he could just fight, keep the fight between Josh Kelly and Boots in house, and regardless of who wins the fight, the belt stay with Matchroom? He not about to give Virgil no opportunity. Virgil ain't getting no world opportunity. What I got out of all of this is that Virgil ain't getting a world title shot anytime soon. 3 of the major world titles are with Matchroom right now. The other one is with PBC. PBC's on the zone now, but Samson just said that nigga Virgil gonna have to wait another 2 years because we after this fight we worried about unifying. So he said we fighting Boots, we not fighting Virgil. So that shit right there, Virgil got a few options. He got 2 options, bro. I'm gonna keep it real. Virgil got 2 options. He could stick around and fight nobody at 154 until that world title shot becomes inevitable, or he could go up to 160 and start all over again. That's what the fuck it sounds like to me. Jonabek need an opponent, nigga, fresh off them roids. You want to fight him? You want to go beat up on old Eris Landy Lara? What we gonna do? What we gonna do? That's what it sounds like to me. I could go ahead and read the quote again over for y'all. Everything Boxing posted it on Twitter as well. This is a Samson Lukowicz quote. It says, Fundora will fight Boots, not Virgil. Samson Lukowicz says, this defense against Ermal is mandatory. Then it will be Boots. I'd rather go to a unification with Boots than fight Virgil. So now Virgil is 2 years away. He's a good fighter, not a great fighter, but he doesn't sell and he has the wrong management. Now, why is he saying that Virgil doesn't sell? Because for one, he doesn't. And then he just seen Boots put 16,000 people at the Barclays, 14,000 people in the fucking Xfinity Mobile Arena. Boots is doing numbers, so he sees dollar signs. You feel what I'm saying? So if he's going to put his fighter in jeopardy of losing, it's going to be for a bigger bag, not for a small bag that most likely Virgil Ortiz will bring to the table. They'll take the risk, but where's the reward at? The reward is with Boots, not Virgil. Boots is a bigger ticket seller than Virgil. But most importantly, he has the wrong management. So another person saying that Rick Meridian doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He's supposed to be the mandatory, but thanks to his management fighting with De La Hoya, he lost the opportunity. So because De La Hoya and Rick Meridian was sitting here fighting with each other, they lost the opportunity to be the mandatory for Fundora's WBC super welterweight title. This is what Samson Lukowicz said. So who is afraid? His boxer should be afraid of his manager. Now he'll wait. God damn. We ain't afraid of Virgil. Virgil should be afraid of Rick and De La Hoya because they're the ones who fucking up his opportunities. He said that was Zaya's fan base. How the fuck you gonna tell me when I was there? Was you there, Daisy? Whatever the fuck your name is. Was you there? Come on, man. So you telling me Zayas would have did 16K and sold out the Barclays without Boots? Yo, your rabbit ass mind. There was a few people in the chat that was there. Boots had hella people there. The Ricans was definitely there. But nah, Boots definitely. So check this out, right? So this is how we gonna do this. This nigga Boots had 14 to 15,000 people at the Xfinity Mobile Arena in Philadelphia with David Evanesian. Let me see how many people Xander had. So check this out, right? When Zayas went to Puerto Rico to fight a Bass Barao, he had a crowd of 12,000 people. 12,000 people, right? Boots went to the fucking Xfinity Mobile Arena against David Evanesian. And and sold 14,119 tickets at the Barclays. So he sold more. I'm sorry, 14,365 people. So he sold about 3,000, a little bit more or less 3,000 more tickets than Xander did. I'm sorry, 2,000 more. 2,000 more tickets than Xander did. But Xander's the main reason why there was 16K people at the Barclays when Philly only about an hour and a half from New York. Man, Boots, man, half of Philly was in the fucking Barclays, man. You crazy as shit. Don't try to discredit Boots. Now, how many tickets Virgil Ortiz sold with Erickson Lubin? They ain't even put that information on. They said the exact ticket sales or gate revenue for Virgil Ortiz versus Erickson Lubin are not publicly available as they were never released to the public. God damn. That's crazy. Let y'all tell it though. Virgil's a star. Okay. But anyways, said, hold on though. Those tickets for Xander fight could have damn near been free. Well, he did over $1 million. He did over $1 million in the gate. So they definitely wasn't free. I think he did 1.1 million. I think he did 1.1 million with a Baz Barao and Puerto Rico. What? Come on, bro. Where the fuck is it at? Yeah. 1.1 million with 12,000 people in the building. Yup. Ortiz had 5K in attendance. Ain't no way, bro. Bro, them niggas was trying to. Bro, that shit just make me feel like they ain't never want to fight Boots, bro. This nigga Boots damn near tripled your ticket sales. Fighting lesser names. Because, you know, David Ebenezer not as big of a name as Erickson Lubin, right? And still doing 14K. You doing 5K? And you still was y'all still was trying to overprice yourselves with Boots. Y'all was over here trying to do him dirty in negotiations. Act like y'all was the bigger star and all that shit. Oh, we don't need Boots. Boots needs us. How about now? Remember that shit? I remember De La Hoya was saying that shit. Oh, Boots, yo, if you're so desperate to fight, why don't you just do 55-45 in our favor and the winner gets 5%? Some bullshit like that. Like, wow. We don't need Boots. Boots needs us. We got options. I remember Oscar saying that shit. Oh, we got options. How about now, nigga? How about now? You see why? You see why you're supposed to stay humble, man? Cause shit like this could happen. One thing about them tables, they turn, bro. What? At least Ortiz has more star power than Hutchinson. Who's Hutchinson? You meant to say Hitchens? Who you talking about, Tricks? But man, like I said, I was trying to set Virgil up for a world title. I'm like, man, Virgil need to go ahead and talk to Mauricio, become the mandatory challenger for Fundora. Because how the fuck the WBC Silver Champion getting an opportunity over the WBC Interim? According to Samson Lukowitz, because this motherfucker Oscar and Brick wanted to fight, they lost their opportunity. Major L for Virgil and them, man. Major L. Super bad, John. But anyways, man, we got any last words before we get up out of here? Any last words before we get up out of here, man? Oscar probably don't even fuck with Virgil like that anymore. Well, Oscar probably had like a business relationship with him anyway. But there may have been trust there before, but you better believe Oscar don't trust that nigga no more. Because a lot of these promoters, they usually just keep fighters at a distance. They just keep it business because at the end of the day, you can't really trust these. You can't really trust no fighters, man. Fighters are snakes. You just seen what Conor did with Eddie Hearn after all that loyalty Eddie gave him, letting him borrow money and all types of shit. You know what I mean? I think Oscar even told Eddie like get over it. Like, you know what I mean? Like this shit gonna happen. Like get over it. So Oscar, he gonna move accordingly. One thing about Oscar, he ain't never gonna trust Virgil again. If he ever did. Virgil didn't want to play Find the Bottle Cat with Oscar anymore. That's crazy. He ain't gonna find that shit. To this day, nobody know what happened to that bottle cat they lost inside Oscar. My boy Z said he probably trying to set up that boost fight to see an execution in live action. You saw how excited he was watching Benny beat on his fighter and take his belts. Yo, you might actually be on to something, Z, because one thing these promoters do when they realize a fighter on their way out, especially if they didn't end like on positive terms, they gonna do whatever they can to either destroy them, whether it's in the ring or outside of the ring. And I'll say this all the time: when Bob Arum got word that Terrence Crawford was leaving Top Rank, and he couldn't find anybody to beat Terrence Crawford in the ring, what did he do? Try to destroy his reputation. That's why he went to court and all that. Oh, with the money I lost on Bud, I could have built the house in Beverly Hills, and you know what I mean? Had motherfuckers just talking crazy about Bud as if they was trying to diminish his star power. So when he became a free agent, nobody would want to work with him. That's basically what they tried to do. Did the same shit with Shakur. When they realized Shakur was on his way out and they couldn't beat him inside of the ring, what did they do? Show all the fans walking out of the arena, trying to label him as this boring fighter and all this shit. That's what they do. So Oscar probably be like, all right, like Virgil was my young boy, but he just tried to backdoor me. He just tried to, because mind you, Virgil tried to sign a deal with Matchroom while he was still signed with Golden Boy. So he tried to do Oscar dirty, and if Oscar would have never got the word, they probably would have got the fucking deal done. So he had to put an emergency restraining order, all that good shit. So Oscar in his head, he probably like, man, this motherfucker, like I really want to teach this nigga a lesson because he just try to backdoor me like he's a fucking snake. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna act like we cool. You know what I'm saying? We gonna keep this deal going. And before he leave this motherfucking promotional stable, I'm gonna make sure somebody take care of his ass. So if he got 3 fights left on his deal, Oscar probably gonna, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how many fights he probably would have Virgil do two throwaway fights, then heavily push for that boost fight. Get the boost fight, boost pack Virgil, and then you know what I mean? Virgil goes into free agency with a fucking L on his record. That's what these promoters do. Once a promoter gets sick, I know this for a fact. I ain't gonna say no names, but there's fighters that promoters like Top Rank got sick of, and was like, you know what, man, we gonna get this nigga the fuck out of here. Some of them be headaches, you know what I mean? Some of them be too hard to deal with, and You know, they'll sign fighters who don't want to fight anybody. So they'll purposely match them up tough just to get them to lose. And then after they lose, they drop them. I've seen Golden Boy do it. I ain't gonna say no names. I've seen Top Rank do it. I ain't gonna say no names. I seen PBC do it. I'm like, damn, why this fighter getting matched up with this killer so early in their career? It's a learning lesson. They pissed somebody off. But anyways, man, I'm gonna get up out of here. I appreciate everybody that came through and showed love as always. If y'all can go ahead and hit the like button on the way out, that'd be very much appreciated. I believe this Thursday I got an interview coming up with Tito Mercado. We're gonna be speaking about him just signing with Win Records and Salida Promotions. We're gonna speak about his upcoming fight against himself and Emmanuel Tego, and then of course we're gonna be getting into the his future, what's going on at 140, where he's ranked at, and what his plans are moving forward. So be on the lookout for that. But until then, I'll be live tomorrow, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to continue cooking up on what's going on in the boxing world. Until then, I hope you guys have a blessed, beautiful one. I'm up out of here, man. Peace.